I love your GitHub hat.
Thank you. Yeah,
Welcome everyone. My name is Martins, and I have Ruth here with me.
yeah,
So welcome
everybody.
to the August edition of our Meetup. We do
Mhm.
this every month, and I think we've been doing this for over a year since the pandemic, and we're still going strong. So definitely welcome. Today we have a lot of goodies for you. But before we go, we just want to do a quick introduction. You might have already met me before, but if not, I'm an account executive here at GitHub. I dabble into investing. Over 5 years ago, I still invest in real estate, stocks, and cryptocurrencies. So that's pretty much it. If you want to connect with me, you can join me on LinkedIn or Twitter. That's I don't do a lot of social media, but that's where I you can connect with me. So Ruth, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sorry, I was muted.
No worries.
Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to another GitHub virtual meetup. So I'm Ruti Kegar from Nigeria, and I'm a technical content manager at Animals, where I do technical writing. And I'm a GitHub star too. You can see the star there. And I'm also an open source advocate. I love getting people involved in open source. And you can find me at Ikega Ruth. I do a lot of Twitter though. So
Mm,
you can
yeah, we're
you can
more
always
on social
check
media.
it here. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's good. So,
I have a lot for you today, by the way.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Ruth, how was your week? What did you work on this week?
The week is just starting. It's
I,
just Tuesday, right? Okay,
uh-huh.
I've been doing a lot of thought leadership content at work. So
Hmm.
yeah, and I've also been seeing a series. I've been trying to blend in work and watching movies these days. So
Oh, interested.
I'm seeing a series on Netflix. I'm just taking it one episode every day. Yeah.
Hmm.
How about you? How's your week been? Even though the week
Yeah,
is
it's
starting.
been pretty hectic. We just started a new fiscal year at GitHub, so there's a lot of meetings, lots of conferences, and it's a little bit overwhelming sometimes, but I mean it's all good. It's tech, so things move quickly. So you have to be open to that. So let us know in YouTube like how you guys are doing in your countries, what countries you're from, and uh, also what you guys are up to, what projects you're working on. Are you trying to get into tech? Are you just getting started in tech? Just let us know. What's your overall journey in life, and
Yeah.
we can continue to figure out how to support you. And another thing is the overall. I just saw a message from Sharon. Sharon was one of the speakers.
Sharon has been like a regular participant.
Hi,
It's been
Sharon.
very good. I think she also gave a talk one time. I think that was
Hmm.
last year. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that was
yeah, she gave a really good talk
mhm.
a couple of months ago. So I don't know. We'll have to get Sharon back at some point. Yeah, so definitely let us know. Say hello to us on YouTube. We'd like to hear from the people that have been regulars here for these meetups. Um, Hopefully, in the future, we'll be able to have like a live meetup where we actually meet people. But the issue is like Africa is so huge. Like, where would we have that meetup?
I think Nigeria will be the first one.
Yeah,
Definitely Nigeria should be the first, please. Yeah.
yeah, it's a huge continent. I think we'll probably like do something in West Africa. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna play out. But yeah, definitely settle in, guys. And We're just here to support you. We're here to support the open source community, people that are trying to get into tech, and just make sure that we give them a little bit of guidance as you move into technology. So that's pretty much it for that. Really, you want us to go into the agenda now?
Yeah, sure. We can let them know like what we have today.
Okay. All right. So you mind going through what we have today?
Yeah, sure. So like we said, we have like a whole lot for you today. We have like a very, very interesting topic, one which I really want to learn about. Yeah. So we will run through GitHub news in like some minutes, and then we have a special guest, Sami Kiru, right? And our speaker today, that's not our speaker by the way, but our speaker today is Oluwaseun Ayodeji. He's going to be like taking us through how to use GitHub apps and navigating through GitHub apps. Like I said, I really want to learn how to do that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then we have like a networking session. This also the fun part too, where we, network through Zoom, we discuss like challenges. The speakers also like join us during this networking session. And the interesting part is like we played Kahoot games and you stand a chance to like win something, you win some swag from GitHub. So also after the talk is not the end of it. We also have like a networking session where you can interact with speakers and share your views and challenges and best practices in the tech space. So that's like a pack of the agenda what we have for you today. So yeah, so let's start off with the GitHub news.
All right.
We should have like something like a drum roll when we want to do GitHub
Yeah,
news.
I wish I could like figure that out.
Yeah,
Yeah, like some background music, like get up music.
yeah.
All right. You want to take the first one, Ruth?
Yeah, sure. So GitHub has like a new, sorry, give me a second. Okay, so GitHub has launched like a new research project, like to understand like the social sector, right? How much impact from you can participate in this research. So I think the link is up there, right? The link should be,
Yes. The
yeah,
get up.
so the link is up there, so you can participate in, would love you to like participate in this research, to fill out the survey and share your experience with like social impact wherever you are in Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt, wherever you're joining in from. You can, participate in this survey and let us know like contacts you may have, experience you may have with like social impact. So we need your help to like move this project forward. So yeah, so you can use the link to access the survey. So yeah, we can also share that in the YouTube chat, the link in the YouTube chat too, so
Okay.
people access it better.
Perfect. So definitely sign up for that, so we can hear from you as much as possible. So I know most of you would have we've talked about this a few times, but GitHub has done a lot um, in the DevSecOps space. One resource that I would like to point you guys to is resources.com. Sorry, resources.github.com/devops. You'll find an article there. Actually, I think I have the article open here. You would find an article here that talks about some of the recommendations around DevOps. How to build a DevOps culture. DevOps is an intersection of culture, tooling, and change in developer processes. So definitely take a look at how to improve your collaboration. Let's say you have a team of 2 engineers or a team of 4 engineers. Definitely take a look at that link, resources.github.com/devops, to learn more about some of the tools you can employ, some of the examples of how other people have done DevOps at their companies or for their projects. and learn all the different pieces that you would need to be more efficient. And the whole point of DevOps is to make people as efficient and as productive in their development processes as possible. So definitely take a look at that link to learn more. And the one of the things I would like to point out is, as far as DevOps is concerned, you want to have access to the cloud. You want to have good security in your practices. You want to make sure that your teammates, you guys are collaborating properly, and make sure that all of those pieces are in your practices, in your development practices, as you ship code or as you contribute to open source technologies. So check this out, and hopefully you learn a few things from there.
Okay, great. So, apologies if you hear like any noise. I have some construction going around me, so apologies if you're going to hear any noise. GitHub Code Spaces has moved like to, before I think it was last year, Code Spaces was launched, right? And then it was in the was beta access, and I think I had access then. I had access through volunteering for Grace Hopper conference, where we used code spaces to help these participants, new participants in open source, get started. And I'm really so excited about having GitHub moving this code spaces, this feature to the engineering teams. So code spaces is now available for like team and enterprise cloud plans on github.com. So basically, code spaces allow you like run different dev environments without on the cloud without having to do it on your local system, which is like really good for open source contributions. But for now, it's like available to team and enterprise cloud plans. So you can get started with code spaces, and you can read more on the code spaces page on GitHub docs, so to learn how to use that.
Perfect. Yeah, I would just like to share this link here.
Yeah,
So
sure.
this is the code spaces.
Okay, the code spaces thing, yeah, great.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. You can have a very powerful machine. Uh,
Mhm. Yeah, I
so
remember contributing to like a C sharp code base.
oh,
Yeah, because I just need to fix one very little thing. It was something not really technical, not like I write C sharp or anything, but it was
mm,
not something technical. So I didn't have to like go through the whole stress of building so many packages or something. I just had to like
exactly.
do
Down
it over the
download
cloud.
packages and making sure you have all
Yeah.
the right pieces. So
Hmm.
this is definitely very key for engineers. So that's great. And one other thing that I wanted to mention is, um, you know, the ability for people to run GitHub Actions right from terminal. This is something that I tried to learn when I was learning how to code a little bit. So you can run your GitHub Actions workflow from GitHub CLI. I think I have the link of GitHub CLI somewhere. Let me see if I can find
Okay.
that. This GitHub CLI was launched some time ago. So you can basically, run a lot of GitHub centric actions or events through the command line. So you know how you have terminal on like your Apple device or some other devices, maybe Windows. Windows has different terminal. This is specifically made by GitHub, and you can use this for GitHub Actions and some of the other um, you know workflows that you're thinking of, building. You want to build an app, you want to contribute through the terminal instead of using a UI interface. You can just use GitHub CLI. So for example, when you're writing a commit message in the CLI, you can commit using multiple m dash options, and There's a link here that you can use, GitHub .co/commit. You can commit messages right from the GitHub CLI. So definitely check out this link. It's CLI. You can download it for your Mac. You can also install it for Windows. It's cli.github.com. So check that out if you haven't already used it. I know we're having so many shapes at GitHub, like I can hardly keep up with what we are doing. So it's a lot sometimes, but that's one more thing you can check out. And all of GitHub technologies are always free for open source. So if you're doing open source development, definitely check that out. All right, this
Nice.
is for you.
So yeah, sure. So GitHub campus experts applications are open, for you can send in your applications. We are looking for like the next generation of community student leaders. While I was in school, I really wasn't a tech person. So I really admire all these kind of applications. So if you're in your local school, you can apply to be a GitHub campus expert, and the applications close by the end of this month, August 29th. So if you're um, interested in this, and a campus expert must at least be like 18 years of age. You must be using like GitHub for like 6 months, and you should also be like in a formal educational institution, right? So the applications close by the end of this month, which is two, is it up to 2 weeks? I think a week, a week and
Mhm.
some days from now. Yeah. So
Yeah,
please, if you are interested in this, in leading a GitHub, a small GitHub community in your local school, please apply to be a campus expert. And also, the link is up here, and it should also be shared in the YouTube chat. So yeah,
yeah, and this is so important. This is one of the ways you can start to make your mark um, in
exactly.
the software community. I think this is something that Samson got his started while he was in college. Like
Yeah.
he was very involved in all of this open source community. He was like a campus expert, and today he's like director of developer community at his company.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
definitely a way for you to start getting your feet wet with technology, and interact with companies, interact with GitHub, all other companies. Like many tech companies have like campus related
Yeah.
activities. I think Google
Exactly.
and the rest of the larger organizations. So definitely take advantage of all of these opportunities. And GitHub stars. So, we have a GitHub star here, Ruth. So,
Yeah.
basically, if you don't know what GitHub stars are, GitHub stars are expert and technical leaders who passionately share their knowledge online and in person with communities in which they live and work. So, nominations are always open at stars.github.com. So, it all ties together, right? If you're in campus, if you're still a student, and you're interested in tech, definitely um, make sure you are applying at github.com. Try to become a campus expert, uh,
Exactly.
and that can lead you into contributing to a specific open source project on GitHub. And you know who knows, you can be nominated to become a GitHub star because of your work. Because if you're trying to get into tech, like your GitHub presence is like your resume for you to get into a technology company. So if you go through this process, you become a GitHub star, you're opening more opportunities for yourself in Africa and even all around the world. So let's go to stars.github.com and take a look at what it takes, and continue to expand your impact.
Exactly, like touch up on impact there. You basically don't need to like be an expert. So don't let experts scare you away,
Hmm.
right? So it's It's more of like the impact, your impact in the community. And when you say impact, like quality impact, it's not like how big and how large it is, but then like look forward to like quality, giving like quality impact in the community. And like Martin said, if you're in school, starting from GitHub Campus Experts program, it's like a good way to get started. And if you're not in school, participating in like open source organizations, open source projects, give you that experience and give you that leverage to like impact on the community, right? So you can nominate your favorite persons, that have also been, that you have seen that have created impact in, the developer community. You can nominate them at GitHub Stars, and yeah. So I think that's all the news we have. We had a lot. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So we have a special guest here, and
And
Ruth, you want to introduce Mohammed Samuel Kiro?
yeah, sure. So we have a special guest today, best known as Awal.
Yeah, he prefers our.
I usually it's Awal I usually yeah. I think this is like the first or second time I'm saying his name. So Awal is a software engineer. Like he has an interest for web and he has a lot of passion for the community. Like this is somebody that a lot of passion, like a lot. So he's been leading like developer communities over 6 years, and he's part of like the Google Developer Relations team in Sub-Saharan Africa, where he's focused on supporting the GDG student club program. And thank you so much, Awal. I'm not going to call you Samu, but thank you so much, Awal, for honoring our invitation.
All
Yeah.
right. Our take it away.
Hey, thank you very much, everyone. Just a moment. Um, yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I didn't know I was speaking early, so I wasn't. I was actually here just to join everyone to attend
Mhm.
this month's session. Like you can see on the screen, you're invited, right? I came here just to speak about the Solutions Challenge program. It's usually a competition we have annually. We started in 2019, where we invite students, just like Martin and Ruth mentioned. So when you're in school, contributing to open source will be really really important for you in the long run as you try to break into the tech industry. So we're trying to bridge the gap between theoretical computer science concepts, what you learn in school, and what is needed in the industry. And I think one thing that will really help you is what you've been able to build over time. So we figured, even though we're providing resources for people, try to upskill yourself. You also need to be able to build stuff, show what you've been able to do. And it's not about building stuff like calculators and stuff like this. Yes, these are good things to practice, to do lists and stuff like this. Yeah, they're good things to practice. But what is much much important is building solutions and solutions to like real life problem. So we started the Solutions Challenge program in 2019 to try to bring you to try to make students, right, build solutions to local problem. We're not trying to say build solutions for cancer. That's like something out of the way, but builds local solution to something that affects your community. So we started 2019, and we had a solution that ended up being the best solution. Fortunately, it was a solution from Africa, from a team in Uganda. And in 2020, we decided we're selecting 10 people to lead we realized just selecting one solution doesn't really work, right? They're really really awesome solutions. People build different solutions, so we decided, okay, how about we select top 10? So we selected 10 last year. And since this is an event that is targeted at Africans, so we had two DSCs from Africa, right? One from Ghana, another DSC from university in Zimbabwe, Midland State University, and University of Education in Kumasi. They built different applications. One was to do plagiarism check. The other one was to report emergencies to relevant authorities in around the location where the person is reporting. So this year, we started the solutions challenge as usual in January, and we shortlisted the top 50 in March. At the end of March, shortlisted the top 50, and then we've been um, giving them the opportunity to meet people who are more technical than them, give them mentorship, and get them to improve on their solution. So they've improved on their solution, and then we're at this point whereby we've selected the top 10, and in these top 10 solutions, we want to give them the opportunity to present to you, like the global audience, anyone, everyone, whoever is interested in looking at the solutions that are built by students. So this is solutions by students to solve local problem in their different locations, and it's happening next week, basically August 26th. We're having the top 10 winners come and showcase their product, show you what they build, and also run you through the technologies they decided to use. So it's yes, one of the requirements is for them to use one Google technology. Another requirement is the project is supposed to be open source, right? So it's still so that people can be able to see. So they're coming to tell us, okay, what technologies they use, not because it's not like okay, you're restricted to build with Google technologies. No, we just expect you to at least use at least one Google technology, but build with whatever tool works for you. All right. So they're coming to showcase what they build, the technologies they use, as well as tell you, as well as answer any question that you possibly have. So the event is going to be streamed straight from the Google Developers YouTube handle, and the link is at you could just Google search Solutions Challenge. I'll share the link with Martin, and Martin will probably add it to one of the banners in this session. So I hope to see you there. If you're like, you can check out the Solutions Challenge website for details about the solutions. You can have a great overview of what the solutions are, and then probably prepare your questions beforehand. And then once they're done with their demo, we take questions from the judges as well as from the audience. So I hope I see you next week. Martin, over to you.
Right. Thank you so much, Aura. That's great. We'll definitely look for that link and share it with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
they can
I think
attend. It's really key for like I spend like some days just thinking about like what I can do, what solutions I can build for like Nigeria or Africa in general. So it's definitely something that I intend to attend and see what students are building. Like maybe I can get some ideas from there. Maybe we can
yeah,
collaborate. So it's really good that I was leading that initiative to build real solutions for African issues. So
yeah, exactly.
that's really awesome. I'll look for the link and I will share that. Hello, Adewale Abati.
Yeah, I think we should have Adewale come back once again to speak.
Yeah, Adewale had a pretty good um,
When
presentation.
he was like the made in Nigeria report too.
Oh yeah, I loved that. That report was really good. We should definitely have him back at some point. All right, so that's great. Thank you so much, Awa. Our next speaker, it's one of our friends here at GitHub. It's my colleague here at GitHub. It's Oluwaseun Ayodeji. Sheun is a technical support engineer here at GitHub. Um, every day, our engineers here help. He interacts a lot with developers, and he loves to help people be a better version of themselves. Currently, is as I mentioned before, he's a support as part of the GitHub support team, and he's working with developers every day as they interact with GitHub. Outside of work, he loves sport, agriculture. Agriculture. Sure, we need to talk about that because that's something that I'm interested in eventually. So let's talk about that. He likes politics as well. So Shane will be talking about GitHub apps and how you can use GitHub apps as much as possible rescue yourself with GitHub apps. So, Sheon, over to you.
Hi everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Martins, and thanks Ruth as well. You guys have been an amazing host. Okay, so today basically I would like to talk about GitHub apps to the rescue. But just briefly, just a few things about me. Uh, Let me share my screen, maybe to start with. Okay, okay. So, um, yeah, I'll be talking about GitHub Apps to the Rescue basically. And before I go into that, I I am a developer support technical support engineer at GitHub, like Martin's rightly mentioned. I work with the ecosystem wings of GitHub support. So basically, what we do in ecosystem is we help or we support developers that actually interact with our APIs. Developers that probably works with apps, GitHub apps, or apps that has to do with integrations, basically. So there are times whereby, let's say, for example, you are using things like Travis CI application, you are using Circle CI applications, you are using Jenkins integrations with GitHub, you are using Slack integrations with GitHub, you are using Microsoft Teams integration with GitHub. There are times whereby you have issues trying to set them up, or there are times whereby you have issues trying to make them work as it should with your code. So what I do with GitHub support currently is the ecosystem part, which involves all what I've just mentioned. So just like Martin said earlier, I follow sports. I'm a Manchester United fan, and happy we won on Saturday. A good way to start the league, right? So I also follow agriculture. I have a farm basically. And currently have like a banana plantation kind of. I also move closely with politics. I like to discuss both international and local politics. So yeah, so the objectives of today's topic basically is all of this. I'll be talking about BAT. What is BAT, which is personal sex token? What do we call what tokens, and what are GitHub app tokens? There are times whereby people tend to mistake all of these, or there are times whereby we have some people who don't know what OAuth token really means. We have people who don't know what GitHub Apps token really means. So the essence of this topic or this conversation today is just to enlighten us about all of these. And briefly again, we'll talk about setting up GitHub Apps. We just run through a short demo on how you could set up GitHub Apps. And then we'll talk about GitHub App token. Those are the tokens generated from GitHub Apps, what you could use them for, and what kind of permissions you could give them, what are the necessary permissions you could give them, and what are the tasks or requests you could make with those permissions you've given them. We also look at webhooks. Okay, when you make those requests, how does the webhook payload looks like? You get, then yeah. So basically, those are all what we'll be talking about today, and I will try as much as possible be very to be very explicit and just walk through all of the steps slowly. So yeah, basically, one of the things people get to apps on GitHub. One of the things apps on GitHub allow you to do is it allows you automate and improve your workflow, basically. So there are times whereby people use tokens, personal access tokens, and they are they are disadvantage of using personal access tokens basically because at times if it get exposed, maybe for some reasons someone probably handled your system or stuff like that, and if they have access to your personal access token, then a lot of stuff they can access on your GitHub repository using your personal access token. So it's very important that you use a token that is that the kind of permission you've granted the token is just enough for the purpose for which you've created the token. So, we all know how, most of us probably would know how personal access token works. We know how to probably create them. I will just quickly run through my GitHub repository just to show you where and how you could create a personal access token. So if you have a page like this, for example, you could just go to your settings. From your settings, you go to developer. From developer settings, you go to personal access token, and then you could create your token, generate your token. So yeah, you could generate your token. So I could just give any name to my token, though I'm not creating any one. Recently, GitHub released a feature whereby your token could expire. So I think that's also a way by which GitHub wants to help you keep your access to GitHub itself safe. So there are times where people create token and they absolutely forget about it. So if I'm creating a token, personal access token today, I can just decide to say, okay, I just want this token to last for 7 days. So when I'm done with all I have to do, then the token expires after 7 days. So these are OAuth scopes. For example, the token you want to create, for example, should just only access repositories. You could just click on repositories and the likes. So it's very important. Personal access tokens are very important recently because we just deprecated authentication via command line if you are using your password. Now, if you want to also access, if you are trying to connect to GitHub via command line, you need to use your token instead of the password. I think that happened on the 13th. Yeah, if I got that correctly. Yeah. So that's that about personal access tokens. So now we go to OAuth tokens basically. What are OAuth tokens? OAuth tokens are the tokens generated from OAuth apps. So if you've experienced it, if you've noticed this before, there are some applications you want to access, and then it will tell you log in with GitHub. So for example, I want to access, let's say, Azure App Services, for example, or I want to access Azure DevOps. And in the process of trying to log into Azure DevOps, it tells me log in with GitHub. In the process of logging in with GitHub, that process is called OAuth process, OAuth flow, whereby you are logging into GitHub with an external identity, like from an external provider, rather. You're logging into GitHub from an external provider. So during those process, a token is also generated for you. Those kind of tokens are the tokens we call, okay, sorry, like just trying to zoom in on my screen. So those tokens are the tokens we call OAuth tokens, basically. So we're not going to delve in much into OAuth tokens today because that's really not the focus. But then one thing about OAuth tokens is that it has the same permission as the user themselves. It has the same permission as the user. So, and it has access to all the organization the user has access to, except those organizations that has blocked third-party organizations. There's something we call third-party access restrictions. I won't try to go for much into that because yeah, it's not really within the scope of this conversation today. So I've shared some links on, okay, I could just open some of the links I had on the slide there about how OAuth looks like. Just to zoom in so everyone sees. So basically, these are how OAuth flows looks like. For OAuth app abstracts, one thing you can do about that is that you can decide to say, okay, these are the permissions I want to give my application. So if a user is trying to authorize that particular application or trying to log in on that particular application, the application is requesting certain permission from the user. Or if it's, let's say, for example, ability to read your repositories or ability to read your emails, the application has access to those permissions. So I would go into the main topic for today, which is GitHub Apps token. So, uh, why is GitHub Apps token very important, and why is GitHub Apps token coming to the rescue? And of course, when you look at the word rescue, it means that there's been a punishment somewhere, or there's been a suffering somewhere. Let me use that word. Or there's been a discomfort somewhere using a particular stuff, and then something is coming in to help you take away those pain. So developers generally feel the burden like, okay, why will I have to give full permission to a particular application, or give a full permission to all my resources, give permission to all my resources for a particular application just because I want to use them. So one of the things GitHub Apps will let you do basically is that it gives granular permissions. Like, okay, if it's just one repository I want to access using the token generated from the GitHub Apps token, I can specify that, okay, yes, I just want to have access to this one repository. If it's two repositories, I can select that. If it's all repositories, I can select that. So those are some of the importance of GitHub Apps token. And we have two different type of GitHub Apps token, basically. We have the user to server token, and we have the server to server token. I'm going to talk about this more as we proceed on this in this session. I'm just trying to be faster. So now, this is just like a table that shows us the difference between all of these tokens. Personal access token, personal access token, OAuth app access token, and GitHub app access token. So for personal access tokens, you could customize your access scope and permission, just like I showed us earlier on, where I was creating this. I could customize and say, okay, I just want to grant access to repo. I can say, okay, I only want to grant access to repo and workflow. I can say, okay, I only want to grant access to read user email, stuff like that. And after I'm done, I generate the token. So what that means is that this is just what the application, this is just what the token can do. It can do things that has to do with admin. The token cannot delete a repository because I didn't give it the permission to delete a repository. So the other is for OAuth app access token, just like I mentioned, you don't have control over the scope. So if the user building the OAuth app access token has requested for certain permissions, those are all the permissions that you have to request during the process of authorizing the application. So for GitHub app access token, they have granular access scope and permission. You can decide to say, okay, these are what I want this application to do. Okay, I only want this application to have access to these permissions. There are times whereby a owner of a GitHub app might probably increase or might probably widen the permission for their GitHub app. You might decide to ignore those permissions while working as support. I've had instances whereby, let's say, for example, Jira decide to update or probably add a particular feature to the Jira integration, and then they get an automatic email telling them, okay, you need to allow some of this permission. One of the reasons why they do that basically is because there might be need for there's a new feature, for example, and maybe the feature requires that they grant workflow permission. So an automatic email is going to be sent to any of those users that has installed the Jira integration or the Jira GitHub app. So we have questions like, oh, I don't want to give this permission. So if you don't want to give this permission, some of the things I do as support is I try to explain the reason why you have this permission, and it's okay if you don't want to accept those permissions. But these are some of the things you can do with GitHub app installation, because for OAuth app, it's like you don't have a choice. The moment you are generating the token, every permission that has been requested by the user is what the app is going to have access to. So access scope is bound by user permission. That is the second point I have here. For OAuth app, that's also true. But for GitHub app, that's not true. Self expires. Yes, that's what I showed us the other time for personal access token. where you could decide to say, okay, I want these 7 days, I want these 30 days. Um, for old app as well, it can expire. For GitHub app installation as well, it can also expire. Um, Generated via API, you cannot generate a personal access token via API. We have a lot of developers writing and ask, oh, I want to be able to generate personal access token by API. Currently, this is not possible. Uh, um, and for old apps, yes, you can do that by API. For GitHub app access token, which we'll be doing today, yes, you'll be able to do that by API as well. Can be revoked on demand. For personal access token, you can do that. For old app token, yes. And for GitHub app installation access token, yes. So do you require installation for personal access token? No, you don't require to make any installation if you want to create a personal access token. But for OAuth app application, you don't need as well for you to do that for OAuth app access token. But for GitHub app, you need to do an installation. Relatively high API rate limits. For personal access token, the rate limit is just 5,000 requests per hour. For OAuth apps token, yes, the baseline is 500, but then there are some calculations that goes to it that it can end up being 12,500 requests per hour. And same as well with GitHub Apps token, like, okay, the more you have many repositories in your organization, the more you have the number of users in your organizations, the number of API requests you could make to that organization would increase. So that's what that is saying. Impersonation, yes, for personal access token, for OAuth app access token, yes, and for GitHub app access token, yes. So quickly, let me move to the next slide, which is just like, okay, all what we've been saying, this is just all of them in a picture. So why do I need personal access token? Why do I need OAuth app access token? And why do I need the GitHub app? So if the plan or if the desire is that you want to make an API request, you want to make use of the API, you want to make calls to GitHub API, and you want to ask yourself, then you don't really need a GitHub app. But if you want to act as the app itself, then that's where GitHub apps comes into play. Personal access token are more used to scripts that are not complex. But if you are looking at developing a complex script, your code is very complex, then it's recommended that you use an OAuth app token. So these are just a schematic. All of this can be gotten from the documentation because, yeah, I interact with the documentation almost every day. So it's so easy for me to take some of this content from there. Quickly, we'll be going into the demo proper, just setting up GitHub apps. It's so easy to set up, and I'm just going to walk us through all of those steps, like, okay, how you could set up GitHub apps, basically. Okay, so I will get onto that right away. So the first thing you need to do, okay, let me log into my organization. I want to set this up in my organization. I go to my settings page in my organizations. Then I scroll down to developer settings. On the developer settings page, you get to see different, you get to see OAuth apps, you get to see GitHub apps, and you get to see publisher verification. The publisher verification basically is when you're trying to publish an application to marketplace. When you go to GitHub App Marketplace, you see a lot of applications already built that could even help do whatever you want to do. So, but in this case, we are building our own GitHub apps and we want to generate token. We want to make a request to GitHub APIs using those OAuth apps. So you click on GitHub apps here, yeah, and then you click on create a new app. So for the purpose of this class, for the purpose of this session, rather, I'm just going to name it, let's say, Demo Africa Meetup. Right. So for the homepage URL, I could use anything because this is just a test stuff, right? I used to do something. Okay, let me just do that. I'll hold on that. I go to smithii.io. This is a channel I create to track webbook activities, webbook events. So, for example, I have this is like a local server whereby any request I make on GitHub, I want to see the request coming to this server. If this tracks my payload generally, so I can just create a new channel here, and just copy this. So I'll be needing this. Okay, just hope you can all see this. So I'm going back to my app creation session where there's a part where I need to add this, my webbook URL. So I can add github.com here, just pretty much that way. It doesn't have to be. Okay, so sorry. And some of the other things I could add my also the same URL here as well. I'll explain why all of this is important as we do the demo later on. And okay, I think that's done. And I'm just going to it's so yeah. So now look at this now. When you scroll to the end of the page, you get to see two options. The first option is you want to install this app. Where can this GitHub app be installed? Is this just on this account or any account? This explains the difference between what we say private GitHub app and public GitHub apps. So if I say I only want to install the app on this account, that means it's a private GitHub app. That probably will mean I can't give anyone the access to the hub. I would only be the one to use the hub. And the funny thing about this is that even if you have 5 different GitHub organizations, if you set this as only on this account, you can't install the app on those applications as well. You can't install the app on those organizations as well. Sorry about that. So I want to make the app public. I want everybody to be able to access the app. And then there are also some other things you need to look at here. These are all the users' permissions. These are repository permissions. We'll talk a little bit about this as we progress in this session. But there's this part where I just want to show you, and it's about metadata. If I don't select metadata with permission, even if I'm installing the application, you won't be able to select repositories while installing the application. So it's important for me to select metadata with permission, even for a start. Yeah. So I can then go back and click on create GitHub app. Okay, so I'm done creating the GitHub app. I need to copy out some of this information because they are very important, which is the app ID and the client ID. We're going to need them later. So I'm just copying, I'll be copying them on Notepad so I don't lose track. So the next thing is, this is the public link. So if you want to access the application, you could access the application from that link. I'm also going to copy that out. It said registration is successful, but I will generate a private key. So I need to create this to generate a private key. Okay, sorry. So yeah, so the private key is created already. I would also copy that song. Okay, okay, let me generate that again. Okay, the private key is created. I'm also going to copy, open that and copy somewhere. Okay. Okay. Done. Okay. All right. Oh, so the next thing after creating a private key is that I have this application already. I have it in, I have a repository where I copied the codes to running the application to generating the code already on GitHub. So I'm just going to copy that here and then um, install on my local machine basically. So my local machine, I'll probably need to increase this so everyone gets to see. Okay, oh, I guess it's too much. Right, so yeah. So I would open a new file on GitHub just for this class, this demo rather, African Meetup. I guess the zoom is too much, so let me reduce first. And okay, okay, okay. So I'm trying to clone the application to GitHub to my local. Okay, so that's going to navigate to, okay. So I have the application already. So the next thing I just do here is I create my environment file, .env. That's where I'm going to add the private key that I copied from GitHub. So yeah, so you recall earlier on that I actually copied out two important details, which is the app ID. I'm going to replace the app ID here. App ID, very important. So the other thing again is okay, the private key. I already defined that in the code. So I'm just going to go back to my environment variable and just set that as well. Okay, so there's also one other thing which I should not forget to mention. It's trying to set up the webhook secret as well. So I'm just going to also define that here, but I have not copied that in the code. So I'm just quickly going to go back to the GitHub portal. Oh, oh, sorry. Okay. So I'm just going to go back to the GitHub portal and try to adjust that. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to generate a webhook secret, right? The moment you click on generate a webhook secret, you must copy, because if you refresh this page, you're going to lose access to it again. So doing that now, so I need to go back to my code and then add the secret there. So I haven't done all of this. I think we are good, and then this is just all of the process in trying to set this up. So now, as a user, we're supposed to install the GitHub app. What are the kind of experience we're going to see? That's what we're going to look at next now. So, okay, I have, as the GitHub app owner, I have set up my application, right? And let's say I am a third party, there's another third party user. The user wants to install my application in their organization. They want to generate a token for my own application. So how are they going to go about that? So that's the next step I am going to share with us now. So I mentioned earlier the link to the app is this. So this is the page you're going to see. Okay, Demo African Hub, it's public. Then you want to install the application. When you click on install, it gives you the options where you want to install the application. It gives you the different options where you want to install the application. So what OAuth app will not do is that OAuth app will just authorize you, and it has access to all your organization, access to all your resources, all your repository. But for GitHub app, you get to select, okay, I only want the token generated for this particular application. So let's say, for example, I want to do that for this of my application. So I click on this. So you can see here, it gave me the option to select all repositories or just a particular repository. I could decide to just select few repositories. So I am choosing this, and I can choose one more and say this. So I have given my GitHub apps access to just 2 repositories. So then I could decide to install. Installing this app means that I'm installing the application in this particular organization, which is the Tech Corner GitHub application. So how do I generate tokens? So now that comes to the other part where we start talking about what are user to server token and what are server to server token. So we'll start first by generating what we call server to server token. So let's go back to our demo. We've completed the first part, which is setting up GitHub apps, and that is done. The next part of it is how we could generate user to server token and server to server token, basically. So I'm going to go back to our code, and running the code is running the script itself. So when you run the script, because the way we've configured the code, you're going to generate a JWT. What JWT actually means is JSON Web Token, right? You generate the JWT token, and it's from that token you could use to generate your installation access token. So generating the installation access token actually means that that is the GHS. Recently, GitHub changed the formats for authentication tokens. So when you see things like GHB, it means that is a a personal access token. When you see something like GHU, that means user to server token. When you see something like JHS, that means server to server token. And I think when you see something like JHO, it's authentication token. And when you see GHR, that means refresh token. The meaning of refresh token basically is that you could, when your user to server token expires, you could use a refresh token to refresh that again. Okay, so quickly, I need to generate access token from here. So if you want to generate access token from here, what you need to do is that you need to do that from your JSON web token. So I'll be copying this JSON web token, and then just so first, the first thing I need to do, even before generating my personal access token, is to be sure to know my installation ID. For every organization I install this application on, I need to get an ID for it. Oh, sorry, that was a wrong code. Just a moment, please. Okay, so okay, cool. So now I've been able to generate, this is just like, okay, what this particular request means basically is that I have my JSON web token and I want to know what are the information of the installation that JSON web token is meant for. So that's me calling this script, and I get to know, okay, this is done on JTech Corner organization. That is the organization we actually installed the application on. And you could get information about the app ID here. You could get information about the application here, and then the target ID itself. So these are all information about what that JSON web token stands for. So what I need basically here is I need this URL, because I need this URL to be able to generate my access token. So I'm just going to copy that out. So the next request I'm going to be making now is to this, is to generate the access token itself. All of this, all of this stuff we have, all of these links to getting this done, we have also in GitHub documentation, the support documentation guide. So yeah, this is me generating the GitHub server to server token. You could see it stands with GHS. So we've been able to generate the server to server token. So what are the kind of things you could do with the server to server token? I can call the list of repositories for this particular installation. I can call the list of I can make changes to issues for repositories I've given access to this installation. I can create labels. I can there's a whole lot we can do with server-to-server requests. We have a documentation as well that shows us some of the requests we could make while using the server-to-server token. Okay, so the next thing we're just going to do quickly, I need to rush through this. I think I'm way beyond time. Is trying to, so how do we generate the user to server token itself? So we've generated the server to server token. You can see it starts with GHS. So how do we generate user to server token? So first, before we generate a user to server token, the first thing we need to do is we need to generate a code for that. So generating the code, initially, you could recall earlier on that we had copied the client ID for the application. So if that client ID we copied, we're going to use in making the request in generating the code. I think I could quickly get a link to how that can be done. The documentation on we have for that? Yeah, I think we have that here. I could, yeah. Okay, yeah, we have the documentation here. So these are basically this. These are all the requests you could make using the user to server token. We have quite a number of them listed in our public documentation here. So yeah, so generating the now that we have the client ID, we copy that from the GitHub. We copied that here earlier on. Yeah, we copied that from this place. Yeah, so this is the client ID. We're going to copy that out again. We add that to so so this is the process of creating a user to server token. Because we are doing this for the very first time, it needs to identify the user. This is the first stage. It needs to identify the user who is trying to make the installation. So I can click on authorize. The moment I authorize that, if you look at the URL here, let me try to expand that. We could see the code that I have here. And I need this code for the next request I'm going to make. So I'm going to copy out this code. So the next request I'm going to make after copying out this code is I'm going to make a call to generate the user to server token itself. So I can reduce it again. I think it's so. Come to my scripts. I already have the client secrets here before, so I'm going to use this client secrets. So yeah. So this is how we could generate the Git user to server token. You could see the token here. Yeah, so you could just copy this user to server token out. It starts with GHU. So what can you do with this user to server token? You could do things like create issues in your repositories, add labels to issues, delete issues, depending on the permissions you've given to the GitHub apps. It cannot do beyond what you've given access to the app, beyond the access you've given to the app. And you could also see a refresh token here, which is GHR. You can see that here. So I'm just going to copy this out because we're going to use it next to perform some of the API calls we'll be doing. Okay. So the first call we'll try to make for today is trying to make a call to get some repositories, to get the issues in the repositories. If you could recall, let me come back here. So, okay, if you can remember, when we go to this organization where this app is installed, you would notice that when you go to your settings, let me increase this page. Okay, and you go to your settings, installed applications, and you go to installed applications, and when you go to Demo Africa, this application only has access to just two repositories, which are these two repositories. So this is one of those repositories. So what we want to do now is that we want to get the list of issues in these repositories. That's what the API call we want to make now using a token that was generated from using a GitHub app token, a token that was generated from a GitHub app. So quickly, I'm just going to do that right away. Um, so So here is what my calls, my call looks like in generating the token, in getting the issues, list of issues in this organization. So the response from that will only give me the issues in that particular repositories. And if you look at that, we only found one issue in the organization, one issue in the organization. If we go back to our page, you could also see that we just have just one issue in this organization. So this is me using the GitHub app. So now, how do we deal with things like, okay, are you seeing webbooks events, stuff like that? Earlier on, we created something. We created this. So this is where you get to see webbook event. There are two places I'll show you. The first is for the app itself. When you go to your developer settings, and when you go to the GitHub apps, which is the demo Africa Hub, when you go to permissions and events, these are where you could subscribe for events. So if I have not subscribed, for example, to issues, I won't get event about issues. If I don't subscribe to event about pull requests, for example, I won't get issues about pull requests. If I want to subscribe to event, the first thing I need to do is see if those events, the permissions for those events have been checked. So now that I'm dealing with issues, the first thing I need to do is, let's say, give a read and write permissions to issues. The next, if I want to deal with pages as well, I click on this, but I'm not dealing with pages today. Let's say, for example, want to give read and write permissions to pull requests. You check that here. What other things do we need to do? I think that'd be all. Okay. So giving a read and write permissions for issues, for example, would deal with things related to there is a noise in my background. Sorry. Let me just quickly deal with that. Sorry about that. There's just some noise in my background, so I had to attend to that. So these are all of the permissions you could give. So the other thing you need to know here again is that you need to subscribe for those events. So if I want to get issues about subscription about event for issues, I click on events. If I want to get for labels, I click on labels as well. If I want to get for pull requests, I click on pull requests. And when I'm done, I click on save. But it doesn't help here. This is me as the app owner trying to make changes to my GitHub application. So it is left for an email will be sent to every user that has installed this application in their organization. So if it's an organization, an email will be sent to the org owners. If it is personal account, it's going to be sent to the owner of the account. So I don't want to go to my emails trying to look for them. So I just need to come here and I need to update the permissions I've just done. Clicking on this now means, okay, an app owner has made requests for a change for their application. So it is left for me now to accept those new changes that have been made. So I just click on accept new changes. Now that is done. So what can I do with all of this now? It now means that I can create issues in these repositories. It means that I can create pull requests in these repositories. It means that I can read issues in these repositories, just these two repositories. So how can we do that? Let's test that out. So the first thing we'll do is just try to get an issue, then we create an issue. So this is we getting an issue, a particular issue in a repository, not all, just a specific issue, which is the one we've created before, issue one. So what about if we want to create an issue? So now let's say, for example, I want to create an issue and I also want to add a label to that issue I've just created. So I can run this request. Let me clear this off and then run this request. Yeah. Whoa. So that has been done. So I need to go back to my application. I need to go back to the repository where we are working on, which is this. If I refresh the repository, you can see that we have a new issue created. So now the essence or the importance of user to server token is that you could see that it's giving it a tag. This is created by Demo Africa Meetup. Those are the advantages of using GitHub apps. For example, the signature will be for the application itself. So that this is us creating an issue, and then we're adding a label bug on the issue. There's another thing we could just quickly try out is creating a label, because we've given the permission for the GitHub, we've given the GitHub app the permission to be able to create issues, to be able to deal with labels. So let's try and create labels as well. We'll do that quickly as well. So we'll brush this. So yeah, we've just created, so let's go back to the repo and see again. Okay, it says demo rescue. That's the name of the label we've created. So let's go if we could find demo rescue on GitHub. So let's check our labels. Okay, so here is demo rescue, which was created on GitHub as well. So maybe for the last one, we could add a label to an already created issue. And we could do using it says not found. So one of the reasons why probably you have answers like this is either the token you're using is not correct, and yes, the token we're using is not correct. So it gives us a 404 error. So when you go to the documentation that you're referring to, you see the list of GitHub errors for each request you're making. So it gives you an insight as to why the request is failing. So let's try that again using the correct. It could also mean that the token we're using is expired, actually. So that's one of the reasons why you get a not found error. So if I try that again and I get the same error, then it means the token is expired. So I'll probably need to generate another token. So GitHub apps token doesn't last much. It's going to tell you when. So what you could do is probably just try to create another one using a refresh token. Just because I want to show us how the permission kind of works, so I'm just going to skip that part and go to permissions, which is the last slide for this course per se, for this session, I would say. So we go to there are different ways you could check your permissions. You could check your webhooks rather. You could check from the app itself. Like if I'm the app owner, I could check from the app to see what's going on with, to see my webhooks delivery. You could come here, yeah. Then I go to, yeah. So all of the events we're creating, I can see that delivery here. So for the one that has to deal with label, when the label was created, this is the event here. When you see a response, it means that the server responded saying the request was successful. Yeah. So you could go here again and see, this is when we open an issue. This another one here. This is when we added the label. So these are all of the things you could do or you could see with webhooks. Okay. So the other part you could see again is you could see them here. You know, I created a server before where I want all my events to be passed. So the moment I make any request, the payload is sent to this server, which is this is just like this is just to catch my webhook delivery for some of the requests I'm making to this endpoint. So these are all of that. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's pretty much ends the session today. Just as a recap, when just trying to, the difference basically between a user token and a server-to-server token is that for a user token, if, for example, you install an application in an organization and you generate a token for that application, a server-to-server token has access to all the repositories that you've given access to that particular application for that particular installation. But what a user-to-server token will do is that if the user themselves does not have access to those repositories, they won't be able to make requests to those repositories. So a user-to-server token is like an intersection. So I create an installation and I give the installation access to, let's say, for example, 3 repositories. One of the members of the organization installed the application, generated the user-to-server token, but by default, he only has access just to 1 repository. The user will only be able to make an API request to just that 1 repository. So that's just the difference between a user-to-server token and a server-to-server token. So we've talked about this, and I think that ends the session for today. So, oh, someone asked, can we have the slide? Yes, sure, I can share those slides with you. Yeah, I think I'm done. Ruth, are you there?
I apologize. I think we lost Ruth. We might have had some connectivity issues there.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for showing us everything today. And where can we find the slides from your presentation?
Okay, I'm just going to share that. Can I share that with you and then you'll be shared?
Yes, absolutely. That will work. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us so much, Sean, and sharing all of your wonderful insight. Being a support engineer, I know you definitely know your stuff. So thank you so much. I personally learned a lot. All right, folks, I think we lost Ruth. We might have had some connectivity issues, and I know Martin's had some connectivity issues himself. So thank you for hanging with us today. Remember, you can always connect to us via Twitter at GitHub Community. And then if you would like to be a presenter in this event, don't forget to join us for the call for proposals at github.co/CFP. And now, if you're still here, you're an absolute hero. And come to the Zoom, join us for some networking. I'm going to attempt to share my screen now. So thank you, Sean. Are you coming to the Zoom to answer some questions? Yeah,
Yes.
awesome. All right. Well, let me share my screen so that folks can see where to join us. So we are going to be live on github.co/Africa, capital A, that Africa. And yeah, we got some games, we got some swag codes, and of course, we'll have Sean joining us to answer any questions. We can share the link to your slides then, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. See you folks on Zoom. Thank you again. Appreciate your patience with us today as we navigated technical difficulties, but you've been awesome. See you soon.